Welcome everyone to another edition of Lawn Care Skull Sessions. I'm Ben from Catch Pro Australia. Got my homie BJ from TBL Property Maintenance. BJ, how are you today?
Oh man,
I said how are you today, but it's actually night time.
yeah, it is night time. Can't really tell in here, man. It's bright as shit.
Yeah, you look beautiful.
Yeah, man. I got double bangers coming down on me. I've got a skag sign behind me. It's crazy in here.
So for everyone listening, it's been a wild week in Brizzy. It's Thursday currently. We've had a couple of days of sunshine, which has been really nice. But we got absolutely hammered by a storm this morning that created all sorts of flash flooding. Queensland is trying to get over some of that flood tragedy, but all of our mates in New South Wales copping it sweet now.
Yeah, man, all the way down. Like Sydney's copping it hard now. This morning was a bit of a shocker. I woke up to it was fine. Got dressed, filled my esky with water. I was talking I was with my daughter and got her up, got her breakfast. And then all of a sudden I just heard this massive crack of thunder. And I was like, fuck, what's going on here? I had a look outside. I looked in the pool and I could see a couple of spits, and then gradually it just kept building and building and building, and then it was just on. And then once again we had a bit of water come through the house. So obviously we've sprung a leak somewhere, a permanent leak now. So that sucks. But yeah, man, watching what's going on around the country is it's a fucking tragedy. Brisbane's going to take a long time to recover. Lismore and Sydney's copping it now, so it's just going to take a long time for the whole East Coast to recover.
And all those inner cities like Toowoomba, Ipswich, Grantham, all of those places. So yeah, I mean, you said that you stayed home. I went out because I had to go get some papers signed with the boys, some safety stuff. So I had to go out. And mate, the sky turned black and there was flash flooding within minutes.
That's so bad, man.
I mean, everything's just got wet feet. It can't, the storm waters just can't handle the amount of rain. Schools were even evacuated today from Brisbane to Bundaberg.
Yeah.
So we had to pick up the kids. I actually let the boys go home early just in case that cell came over. You don't want anyone to be cut off from their homes.
Yeah, that's it.
Now it's about it's almost 8 p.m. here, Eastern Standard Time, at Queensland time. We haven't seen anything come through yet, but apparently we're on a high alert for the next 48 hours.
Really? So I was actually shocked when the storms just quit. I had plans to do some stuff, but you know what, mate? Guess what I had today? Another 2 flat tires.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I wasn't sure if you were trying to drum up a conversation and show some old content, because I got really busy. By the time I got back, I had orders to pump out, and then obviously we picked up the children, and we had a whole heap of mess here from that storm. So yeah. I didn't really get amongst social media until later on this afternoon, and then all of a sudden we're on the podcast again.
Yeah, mate, I couldn't believe it. I walked out and I was just like, no, not again. And it's a brand new tire. So realistically, that's another $110 down the drain. I've used a whole pack of the plugs this year on plugging tires. So
yeah, you've had some incredible bad luck in regards to tires. I don't know if someone doesn't like you and they're just coming up and popping your tires every night, but
it seems to be nails and screws. So maybe it's my magnetic personality.
Oh, I see what you did there, my man.
Yeah.
So before we get into today's episode, I thought I'd give myself a little plug. I'm going to be on the Green Grind podcast with Corey, and I believe his name is Leroy.
Oh, sweet. Another Leroy. Look out.
I think his name's Leroy. No, I could be. Maybe it's Kaz. I don't know. I should probably find that out. But Corey sent me a text. He said, "Hey, you want to be on the Green Grind?" And I said, sure. And he said, okay, is early morning okay? And I thought, well, it's not really, but you know what, it's still a great opportunity to get on there with a couple of American guys. So if you haven't checked that out, check out the Green Grind. It's a pretty cool podcast.
Yeah, 100%, man. Congratulations. That's a good one. That's a bloody good one.
Yeah, so I'll be filming this episode that we're filming right now will drop Sunday. And I believe I'll be on theirs Tuesday morning. I'm not sure if they bank episodes or if they shoot and then they come out, you know, like we do.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can keep an eye out. Everyone that's listening, if you're interested in hearing me again, you can check that out on the Green Grind.
Is it going to be Ben's story times 3?
I'm not sure what the structure of the show is going to be. So I'm sort of hoping that they don't ask me too much about Greenscape Solutions, only because I'm really it's really a distant part of my life now.
Yeah.
Yes, I still cut grass. Yes, I still send invoices, but the operation is much, much smaller than what it used to be. And I'm pretty much just balls deep in Catch Pro.
It's difficult though when you know this is a whole new audience for you. So they're gonna want to know who you are and where you came from. So I can almost guarantee you're going to be running through your story again.
Yeah, possibly. I just got to try and keep that story consistent. You know, because there is, you know, I mean, you and I, you know, we did a, you know, the real Catch Pro story, and everyone can go back and check that out in the archives. And that's probably, I'd say, the truest. You know, some of the other, you know, podcasts that I've done, you know, some of the timelines and stuff like that is just, you know, I mean, it's all true. It's just that some of the timelines haven't matched up. That's all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, realistically, everything happened, but yeah.
Hopefully, maybe someone will think I'm cool enough to ask me on another podcast. I was on Gary's, and big shout out to Gaz too. He's doing good things. I saw he got some new podcasting equipment. I'm jealous.
Yeah, he's trying to one up us, isn't he?
Yeah, what's going on? He's only got to have one mic. We've got one mic between two of us.
He's always been better than us. Who are we fooling?
He's way handsome.
Yeah, so no, he's dropping really good regular content. Heard that he's got a really awesome interview coming up. So everyone keep your eyes peeled on Aussie Lawn Stars.
Bearded Lawnsman Part 2.
Maybe.
No,
I don't know.
No, it's not. We're dropping 2 episodes a week. I don't have time to do another podcast.
Yeah, well, I tell you, we you know, I mean, this is easy doing it via Zoom chat because it's just, you know, 8 o'clock at night, the kids are in bed. Although my kids probably aren't in bed because there is no school tomorrow.
Oh, no way. Is there no school tomorrow as well?
Yeah, no, it's only for essential workers. There's going to be minimal staff available. So yeah, my girls are probably inside going like, fuck off, mom, I'm not going to sleep. That's not really how they speak to us, everyone.
Man. Well, what are we talking about today, mate?
Okay, so there has been always a lot of conversation about cowboys and competitors and how people, you know, they might be in, you know, certain suburban areas and there's either shitty contractors or maybe there's awesome contractors. And there's just a lot of talk about competition and competitors. Yeah. Now, I'm also no stranger in my Catch Pro business to other competitors as well. And I've tried to embrace the competition. You know, obviously people out there, they'll know some of the shit that I get caught up in social media. And, you know, this story is not really a part of that, but, you know, I think because I'm not an everyday, you know, mower man anymore, you know, maybe some of my, you know, recent experiences can maybe shed some light on, you know, some mowing guys and girls out there.
Yeah, fair enough, man. Well, speaking of experiences, have you ever had a confrontation with another contractor over work or over, like just anything in general, like someone saying, "Oh, this is my street, get out"?
Mate, I've got to be honest. Seriously, I mean, and our listeners probably should know by now that I can really get amongst some shit if I want to. I don't, I've never really minded, stirring it up or getting amongst it. But in all honesty, with my almost 20 years in the industry, I have never once remembered being threatened or worried about any sort of competition.
Yeah.
It just hasn't, like, even when I had no work, I just never ever, I don't think there was ever a situation where I saw like some crappy work and was like, I'm going to take a photo of that and post it on social media, or, and slandering other businesses. Honestly, it has never registered with me. How about you?
No. So what's my 7 year? I haven't really had any confrontations with anyone, customers or other contractors. I've
had some shit go down with, like, shitty neighbors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's not.
I haven't had. Normally, if someone's going to pop their head over the fence, they see me and they're like, "Oh fuck!" But no.
Yeah, and then they see me and they're like, "I'm gonna fucking crack this dude again."
Like that junkie that wanted to fight you.
Yeah,
you've had a few close calls. What about the truck driver?
Sleeping Beauty.
Sleeping Beauty. You got a video of that. We should use that as a trailer on the on one of the Skull sessions.
I've never shared that video. I've never shared it on LMCA or any other platform. Yeah, I don't know why. I guess the commentary is, I wasn't proud of the commentary. But yeah, I mean, look, in terms of other contractors, I mean, there might have been other contractors that had issues with me for one reason or another. But, anytime I've ever gone in for a quote, whether it be a residential yard or a village, anytime I've ever been servicing a property, I just have never had a confrontation or have never really been interested in any sort of beef with other contractors.
So that we've both had pretty positive experiences, but I've heard of some pretty bad ones from, people abusing other people, like contractors abusing other contractors. I've heard of contractors following other contractors and trying to poach their work. I've seen it on social media so bad. Look, in the Australian market of social media, I've only seen it a couple of times where a guy will be like, "Hey, check out the lawn we do and look at the lawn this other contractor does over here." Didn't name or shame the contractor, but definitely pointed out, where theirs was better. It was a completely different cut. One was at 2 inches, one was at 3. So, they're two completely different looking lawns. And,
I know who you're talking about, man.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. But
we can keep that one on the low. But yeah, no. So so we've got some stuff here now. Look, my advice is don't pay attention to the competitors in a negative way. Now, what I mean by that is, if you're a new contractor, or let's say you've been in the business for a while and you're looking to take another step forward, or maybe you're just in a high density area where there is a lot of contractors operating and running for the same business, my basic, message is, stop worrying about the other guy. Like, focus on yourself. At the end of the day, people are going to choose who they feel the most comfortable with in a residential environment. And this is where you see it mostly taking place. You generally do not see this in either the commercial or, body corp markets. It's more in the residential environments where people can really undercut. But my advice is to, absolutely just you can pay attention to the contractors in a positive way by, you know, say, let's say you're a contractor that doesn't catch. Let's say you mulch, and everyone knows how I feel about that, you know, first and foremost. But, you know, let's say you see some other contractors and they're catching, and, you know, all the leaves are caught, and, you know, everything's beautiful and clean. That's something that, you know, if you paid attention to it, you can be like, oh, maybe I don't get to keep as many jobs, or maybe I'm not as successful because, you know, maybe I'm not catching or something like that.
Yeah.
So pay attention to the competitors in that way, rather than, you know, going to that other person's client and be like, oh, what are they doing this for? Oh, mate, I'll do it for $5 cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never really been one to go in and drop my price because the last guy did it for a certain price. It just doesn't sit well with me. My price is my price. Their experience with the contractor is more important to me, because I want to know why they're getting a new contractor, where they let the ball drop, and those sort of things can make or break the quote. As soon as you find out, like, he didn't take care of the weeds, and you can be like, well, we have a strict weed management program that we put in place, and blah, blah. You can upsell as you find out more information about what they didn't do. You can upsell yourself to just fit into that job perfectly. I love doing that. I actually, I don't know why I kind of get off on doing that. Just tailor making a program for a certain customer. I think that's why I kind of like these bigger complexes and stuff that I do now, because I can tailor make a program to suit a large site. So yeah, it's cool, man. That there's a lot more to it than people think. Like, if you just say you're at the I don't know how you feel, but whenever I'm at the dump, so I'll be backed up and I'll be sitting there and I'll check out every single rig.
You're not talking about taking a shit. You're like talking about at the tip, right?
No, at the tip. Doesn't everyone call it the dump? No,
I do.
you call it the dump.
Yeah. I just noticed that people will. I mean, some people even go as far as calling it a refuse center.
Whoa, that's fancy. Sounds like somewhere you could get a snack and a coffee when you're finished. No, but you sit there.
Continue.
And look, I sit there and I study every single rig that comes through. And if I see something that I think will help me in my business, like I'll approach that person and I'll find out why they did it, and, you know, how it's worked for them. Same sort of thing is what I do with a customer. I'd find out, you know, the nitty gritty and find out if it's really beneficial. You should see how many people I get coming up to me when I back my fucking monster of a trailer in, and I've got all the Equipment Defender racks all over it. I've given out more cards for you than I have for myself in the last, 12 months. So
I feel like I'm just having a look at my notes, and I feel like you just fucking in that one little like line that you've gone on, you've covered my whole fucking show.
Did I just snake all of your stuff?
But anyway, I was going to say, no, there was something that you said that sort of resonated with me now, that when, I have been typically one, like if there was a particular acreage property that I really wanted to target and I got the opportunity to target it. Now, there has always been, a lot of disdain and a lot of, negativity around undercutting and, pricing structures and things like that. But, and people have heard me, go on about this before, but, sometimes one business can afford to do a job for less.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean that they're a cowboy. And I'm certainly not telling people to charge less, but, there has been this real bad stigma around people that are doing jobs for cheaper than what someone would think is the price, right? But what you were saying is, I don't go around to these places and ask them, hey, what are you paying? I'll do this $20 cheaper. But I have been in situations in the last 2 or 3 years where I have really wanted to capitalize off all of our ride-on mowers, and I've, verbally quoted a price, and the customer has said, oh, I used to, let's say it was 320, and they said, well, I used to pay 290. Would you be interested in doing it for 290? If I really wanted that client, I don't really have that much of an issue, in that sort of scenario. So I think the whole point of this episode is that, yes, you can be competitive, and I think competition is great, but just keep all the bullshit out of it.
Yeah.
And some of that bullshit is like what you spoke about before, following contractors, approaching, if you're on a street mowing a lawn and then another contractor rocks up and they're mowing the opposite lawn, I don't think it's super cool to just go over to that other lawn when they're finished and be like, hey, I'll do this for $5 cheaper. They're probably the types of things. Yeah, they're probably the type of things. I mean, it's not, when I'm not ashamed to say that I've come down in price before where I've felt comfortable, but that is a part of the negotiation process. It's not a part of, myself being like, I'm going out today to undercut anyone that I can.
Yeah. No, I feel you, man. Like,
and
if
so
it's work you want.
Absolutely. Now, if someone had come and said, hey, I'd like you to come and hand weed my gravel driveway, and I said, okay, that'll be $200, and they had said, the last time I got it done from a contractor, they did it for 180, I'd be telling them to get fucked.
Yeah.
But if it's, a nice regular ride on mowing property, or maybe it's, some sort of work that I was interested in and I was prepared to, come for that price, then hey, that's business.
Yeah, man. Sounded dirty though when you said you'd come for that price. It's no good, mate. No good. I did
Mate,
the same thing.
don't even ask me. Don't even ask me how much I would for that price.
I'm the exact same way, mate. Especially with acreage work. You know what though? In the last month, I've quoted 2 new villages, and I think my quoting is pretty down. Like I've managed a fair few of them. But the last 2, fuck me, I didn't even come close, hey. And I know for a fact that there's so there was only one other competitor on one of them, and they were a franchise. So I don't know if that means that I'm too expensive, or if they just really wanted it. But that's the thing. If they really wanted that kind of work, then they, it's up to them if they want to drop their price to go for it. But I don't know, man. It's hard sometimes with dropping your price for these bigger places, because if you drop it and you get in there, you realize it's a little bit bigger than you thought it was, a little bit harder, then you're fucking gonna resent that job straight away. I'm lucky. I've only had one like that, and I don't have it anymore. But yeah, man, it's one of those things. I really worry about resenting jobs.
And like I said, it's not. I'm not trying to lower the industry standard, or to make everyone work for less money. But all of the talk around it, and people despising other contractors for doing a job cheap, I think that is the moral of today's show. Is that, let's not worry about those people. Like the cowboys that are out there, because let's face it, they do exist. Like I'm not gonna gloss over it and say that there isn't, say 40% of the industry that's uninsured, working in pluggers, no eye protection, working out of a VN Commodore, like any of these things that get grouped into a cowboy. Let's face it, they're there. And I think if you're a registered insured business, then I just don't understand why any of these cowboys are on your radar, because you might have someone who they might have had a government job for 30 years and they got a $300,000 redundancy. They might be, maybe they're a sort of person like me where they have to work. And so that person doesn't have the same overheads as someone who just bought a $40,000 gyms franchise.
Yeah.
So I think, the message that I'm really trying to get over is, if you are really trying to be the best that you can be, then don't worry about these other people. And even if you've got amazing contractors and amazing businesses in your area, the same thing still applies. Don't worry about them. Just focus on your own shit, because there is so much work out there for everyone. So let's move on. Let's talk about a few ways that can help you set yourself aside. So, I think a big part of it, and I know that we've done this a lot, is, let's say you're, quoting or bidding on a new residential, or it doesn't even matter what job it is, but I think realistically, if it's a residential property, you're talking about whippersnipping, mowing, and blowing. Let's just break it down to its simplest form. Lots and lots of people out there, anyone who is in the actual business, can perform that task. And I think what is really great for people to do is to learn how to really sell yourself, not just your business. So yourself, BJ, if you rocked up in your fancy rig with, all your racks and your beautiful mowers and everything like that, let's say that's not enough. You have to sell yourself to that client, make that customer and that client feel comfortable with you. It's like if you were going to hire someone to work in your business and you met them and you thought, man, this dude's a fucking jack off. I don't want to work with this, that person hasn't sold themselves, you wouldn't feel comfortable working with that person every day. And that's very similar in a customer situation.
Yeah, I feel that way. One of the things with, like, I'm going back to the competition stuff. One of the things that I feel is necessary when you're fighting against all these other guys, or not fighting but competing, is not just your presentation, but like your social media. Like pretty much every business now that's running probably has a social media or a website or something like that, and that's somewhere where you really should look at the competition and then see what you see. Like, obviously, being in the game, you see some of the bigger guys and how they're doing things. I think looking at that stuff and incorporating like a similar set out layout, I don't know how I'd feel about it, but if you saw something that you really liked, do you think it'd be pretty off if you rang someone and asked them about it, like a competitor? How would you feel? I wouldn't care. Like, I get people message me every day. Like, I've got like 3 messages on the go now about different things that I do in my business. But how would you feel if someone saw your website, they were competition in your area, and they were like, "Hey, mate, I just saw your website. Can you, like, is there any chance that I could, have a look at it properly? And who did you do it through? And can we incorporate some into our business?"
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know exactly the whole website stuff, but I mean, look, certainly over my career, I've had contractors come up and approach me, and first, say with the stand-on mowers, for example, I've had contractors say, come up to me. This is, maybe 24 months ago when they were not as popular, and they're like, "Wow, this is brilliant." Like, where do you get them? And, geez, this would be great for my business. And, do you mind hooking me up with a contact? I think in that type of dialogue, that's pretty cool. And, I would be helpful. Look, when I was younger and when I was building my business, I used to ring local contractors and I say, "Hello, my name is Ben from Bayside Yard Maintenance. I've seen your ad in the paper. I don't have that much work. And I was just wondering, can I reach out if you have some sort of influx or overflow of work? Would you be interested in recommending me if you're just not interested at all?" And I think, I have had some people call me. We've never typically done a lot of advertising in Greenscape. So it's always been difficult for people to find us, unless it's word of mouth or if they physically see us.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I think myself and just being in that position, I would be pretty much an open book. Now, if we were to talk about if someone called me up these days and said, "Hey, Ben, I want to sell niche products into the market," and started talking about like a grass catcher system or something like that,
Yeah.
I could imagine me sort of feeling like, well, that's really my deal that I kicked off, and I would still talk to that person, but I wouldn't be as forthcoming in that environment, I don't think.
Yeah, no, it's different. You do have sort of a niche business with Cash Bros, so somebody trying to bite it would be a bit different to somebody like just trying to, build a good website for a lawn mowing business. It's sort of chalk and cheese there. But
I mean, the difference, I mean, this is the way that I see it. The difference is with lawn mowing, I used to make my money with my hands. I could always go and perform a task and make money. With sales in Catch Pro, you have hot periods and you have down periods. You have times where a product, it might have a lifespan in terms of sales. Like you could sell 1,000 Catch Pros, but eventually you might get to the point where your target demo, like they all have Catch Pros. There's no one else to sell them to.
yeah,
And so if someone else was, approaching me to get into that space, that's where I'd kind of be like, I mean, my honest advice would be don't even try it unless you got 100 grand. That would be, because I learned that lesson.
yeah,
But look, I think in the lawn mowing environment, if someone was to reach, I just believe it's that type of industry and market where there is a plethora of work out there.
yeah.
And I also think it's nice to help another small business in that environment. In terms of what I'm doing now, I'm still learning. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
there's a lot of I mean, people will say like, oh, and Catch Pro is certainly on its feet now, and it is doing well, but we are nowhere near where we want to be.
yeah. We I don't know what like I can understand like an independent doing that sort of thing, sharing knowledge and sharing bits and pieces, social media, website stuff. But I don't know how forthcoming a what do you call them? A bloody someone who's bought their business, a franchise. A franchise would get stuck into something like that because they probably wouldn't actually do their own websites or anything like that, would they? They'd all be done in house.
I just don't even know if you buy, let's say, a Jim's franchise, I'm not sure that you would have your own website. I believe it's just a
Really?
Jim's website. I could be completely wrong. I've never had a franchise.
Yeah.
But I believe it's just one big place, and you get allocated a certain market,
Yeah.
and essentially that's your website.
Yeah.
So in that environment, but there's still franchisees who can always learn a lot from an independent contractor.
Yeah.
In terms of building that franchise, to just incorporate, everyday things like, I mean, gyms, they all have quoting structures, all of, things like that. But there's still the way that they carry themselves, being prompt, being on time, all of this stuff. They can still learn a lot from an independent contractor.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I don't know if I'm weird or not, but whenever I see another contractor who is competition, we'll call them, I don't see them as competition anymore. I see them as like another chance to network. Like the other day, I was at the dump. A guy asked me about the racks, and then I gave him your card and said, jump on the website and have a look at the stuff. And I was like, oh, and if you're into podcasts, I got a couple for you. So I told him about our podcast and Gary's podcast. So not only was I upselling bloody racks, but I was upselling us as well. And I just see everyone like an opportunity to, I don't know, just have another, finger in the industry pie.
Yeah, I mean, that's on here. This is in one of my notes as well. I think, yeah, it's like you've got eyes on this thing or something. But essentially, we all know about our networking episode. We all know that, whatever topic that we're doing, it always comes back to networking.
Yeah.
And this is a classic case of, instead of, arguing with people and being, feeling threatened. Now, look, if someone's going to be a bastard, they're a bastard. If you go up to say g'day to a contractor and he says, and you can immediately tell from body language, or if he even just tells you to fuck off, then, you can only do so much. But I think 9 times out of 10, if you go up and say, g'day, my name's Ben, nice to see you out here, I would be networking and working with that contractor. Now, I'm not talking about working with that contractor as in, hey, Mike, come and work with me for a day and open mouth kiss me all day.
Sounds like all
I'm talking about is, it's like that bloody Paul Sheehan always ringing me up wanting an open mouth kiss.
Oh, even I offered for just a peck and he was just like, no, nothing. Didn't even get a like. Jeez.
He doesn't listen, so we're safe here.
Okay, cool.
But what I mean is, like networking and, working alongside these contractors is like, let's say, some contractors in the area and you get COVID. You can send out a text and, if you've got a good relationship with some of these contractors, and we've seen this positive stuff happen before. And it's like, hey, I've got a really important job and, do you mind looking after that while I'm on isolation? Things like that. I think the industry is going to get a much bigger and better lift from that, rather than, tailgating someone or cutting their fuel lines or, doing all sorts of dumb
That's
shit.
some extreme shit. Fucking
maybe
cutting their fuel line. That's some fucking spy work there. No, I get it, man. Well, there's one thing that I've seen that kind of pisses me off, and it's when people poach other people's photos and use them as promotional photos for their business. Now, I don't know how you feel about it, but for me, I feel like it's a fucking dog act.
You can tell I really want to speak.
Yeah.
I don't know why in the world people do that. Like, it's the dumbest fucking thing ever. Like, why would you ever take a photo of someone else's work, display it as your own? You're in the industry that, especially on social media. I mean, if you did it on your website, I mean, you just have to be the biggest idiot to, if it was like, look, I'm not into it. I just don't understand why you'd ever want to take credit for anyone else's work and display it as your own.
Yeah.
So 100% agree with you that if you're a business on Facebook and you're like trying to showcase yourself, fucking use your own work.
Yeah, please. I don't. It just really pisses me off. I don't know. Like no one's ever done it to me, but whenever I see it, I just think, fucking, you're lying to everyone. Like it's hard work. Social media, doing like posts and getting your own photos and shit. It's actually quite hard work. So when you see someone getting, you know, potentially getting work from someone else's work, it's a bit of a shit go. What about names and
I mean,
logos?
I could be wrong, right? We'll get to that in a sec. I could be wrong, but I think probably what's happening is some of these people are just Googling images of lawns, and that is out in the World Wide Web that's been posted. So you might have posted a genuine picture of a TBL lawn, and you might have posted like, look at this beautiful lawn that I've done. And if someone Googles an image of beautiful lawn, it can recognize that that's out there. And then someone can just be like, they didn't know that that was TBL. It could have been in fucking Africa for all they know, but they've used it. And I think that's sometimes what is happening. And I just think also it's too easy to get caught out, and it's way too easy to be called out for it.
Yeah.
So you can be caught, that's one thing, but when you get called out for it, that's not good.
And once someone I've seen, I think it was Clinton from Camden. He had someone who was a serial offender, and he called them out, and I think they denied it. I think they straight up denied it. And Clint had, his picture when he posted and all that shit. And I don't know, it just fucking pisses me off. I think if you're going to lie to everyone, just stick to lying to their face. Don't steal someone else's photos and use them. That's I don't know what it is. It just fucking pisses me off.
Yeah, look, back to like the sort of dirty tactics and stuff like that. Like, a situation that I was in this week. So, and I got no issues. Like, this didn't blow out very far, but it's a typical example of something that I think doesn't need to be done, right? So someone's taken a photo of a racking system. I don't need to beat around the bush. It was a green touch racking system, right?
Yeah.
And they've taken a photo, and then they've the new product, which I believe is called the Featherlite trimmer handle.
Oh, yeah.
Which is essentially the same as our Darwin's grip. They've taken a photo of it. Now, taking a photo of it and showing something is perfectly fine, and I would embrace that. But they've taken a photo and they've said, oh, and this is the trimmer handle, which has been known to be better than the Darwin grip, rudder. Now, this person didn't come across as a customer who just bought something. That it came across as someone who was, either seeking some sort of ambassadorship, or maybe they'd gotten a deal to, take some photos. And the whole point I ignored it initially. I just looked at it and thought, well, it is what it is. But then, the comments came, and, bits and pieces started. And I think the problem with it is that, like, if you're a lawnmower man, it is pretty rare for you to say, like, look at my work, it's so much better than so-and-so's. Like, you can leave that part out of it. If you see Hustler put an ad in a magazine, they don't say, don't buy a Skag, buy a Hustler. You'll never see that.
Yeah.
Because it's just morally wrong. You know what I mean? Like, and it's exactly the same with, you don't see Catch Pro saying, buy an equipment defender rack, stay the fuck away from green touch. We don't, it's just not something that you advertise. So that was, my little hiccup. But I'll tell you another great example. I have been the first person to, let's say Martin from Mow and Grow. He's a known Green Touch customer. He had his Green Touch racks for years before they were even in the Australian market.
Yeah, I think so as well.
And now he does some great ambassadorship work. And I reached out to him immediately and was like, hey, man, we obviously I'm on the other side of the fence. But I want to let you know that much love to you. And I hope you have all the success. And there is no reason why you and I both can't be successful in the market together.
Yeah.
And I think that's truly how I feel. And I think with some of this gyms versus VIP and, like TBL versus whatever, I just think a lot of it is nonsense. And if you're just worried about yourself, you're gonna go a lot. You're gonna go forward a lot further.
Yeah, fucking come at TBL, mate. Come at me.
So anyway, we've talked about, networking and everything. What about just simply being better?
Yeah.
Now, let it sink in. So simply, like, you think that you're better, right? How about actually being better?
Do you mean like in the way you present yourself, the way you communicate with customers, the actual job you do, like just everything across the board, just be better?
Yeah, I mean, if someone says I'm a better business and they're worrying about this cat all the time, you better actually be better. You know what I mean? Like, there better not be a fucking leaf out of place. You better not forget to edge along the curb, things like that. How about actually being better?
Yeah, that's one thing that'll get you the flick real quick. If you make all these claims when you go to do a quote, make all these grand claims, and then you don't live up to expectations, and you're going to get the flick real quick. That's one thing is customer. Yeah, you'll just lose their trust straight away.
So you know what I mean? Like, if you're picking on a cowboy and you're like, this dude drives a VN, what a piece of shit. And this guy might have outstanding work.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a guy at our village who comes and does the independent.
Yep.
Like we do the common areas and he does the private stuff.
Yeah.
Now this dude is out there with the fucking, he's like maybe 50 years old, charges $30 an hour.
Yeah.
He's not even using a mechanical hedge trimmer, and this dude's work is spot on.
Yeah.
Now, everyone would call that dude a cowboy, but he's a legit business. I mean, like, if you've got a mechanical hedge trimmer, why the fuck are you worried about some dude doing these ones? Now, for everyone listening, I just realized that I'm not doing actions. I'm talking about like
hand shears.
Yeah, okay. So I'll start again for the people that are just listening. I'm talking about a dude who is using hand shears.
It looked like you were going to bounce out into fucking hot potato.
Did I look funny when I was doing it, or
a little bit? You looked like you were fist pumping yourself. Good work, Benny.
So I mean, look, it's just all examples of, stop worrying about that other guy. Worry about yourself.
You know what I really hate about competition sometimes, and I'm going to sound really petty, it's when people don't fucking wave back. I fucking hate it. I don't know. That's another thing, a little pet peeve. My offsider, he definitely knows when someone hasn't waved back, because I'll say some dirty words, and he's like, "Oh, didn't he wave?" I'm like, "No, he fucking didn't." It's it doesn't happen all the time, but fuck, it happens sometimes, and it makes me mad.
See, here I am now driving around town, and I don't have my trailer on much anymore. Maybe one day a week or a fortnight. So I see contractors and I'm like, fucking, and they're like, who's this kook? You know. Whereas when I had my rig on, you'd get the like, yeah. Yeah. So
see, whenever I'm in my wife's car, I'm still accidentally like throwing the how you goings up, and I just look like a dickhead. But yeah,
now on the flip side of that, there's people who follow us and listen to us, and you know they know that I've got the RAM, and you know sometimes you hear this, "Oi, Benny," and I'm like looking around everywhere, and you know not being totally up with the fact that people know who I am locally.
Yeah, no, it is weird sometimes people saying, "Hey, how you going?" Another one is, I don't know if it's just me because I probably look like a drug dealer or something, but I've had a few people at the dump look me up and down, like when I've said g'day, and I know they've heard me, and they've looked me up and down, and they've just gone back to what they're doing. It's only happened like a handful of times, but I just want to tell them to go fuck themselves, but I don't.
I mean,
because
look, some people can just be assholes. It might not have anything to do. It might not have anything to do with the fact that you're a competitive business. I think, you know, saying g'day and stuff like that, you know, you can sort of take that however you want or however it is. But yeah, I mean, I think, you know, some of those stories that we have heard about, you know, people spraying poison on other people's jobs and, you know, stuff like that. That's when you're really targeting someone else's business. And I think that's when that's more what I'm trying to base my episode around, is that, you know, to be successful, you don't need to beat others down.
No, it just look at it as an opportunity to network, or look at it as an opportunity to make another pal in the industry. You know, I just never look at someone like they're less than me. If it's a guy with a push mower in the back of a VN, like I'll still say g'day. There was a guy actually at my last house. He was next door, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you know, I've just started doing this. It's I lost my job because of COVID. I didn't have enough money for this, that." I threw him a few bits and pieces. I had an old 216. It needed a bit of work done. I said, "Do you want it? Like, it's a commercial mower." He didn't have a commercial mower. I said, "You might need a little bit of stuff to get going. I can take it." Gave him the catcher, gave him an edger, gave him a few bits and pieces, hand tools that, you know, I just have a surplus of stuff now. But, you know, like he was in my street. Like, I didn't see him as competition. I just saw him as another contractor doing a little bit tough, and I just thought I'd help him out. I couldn't even have the mentality like, fuck this guy.
So quick sidebar. I've just, you know, when you've been thinking about helping this dude out, which is awesome, by the way, what if we've got it all twisted, and it's like, what if like you gave that dude a mower, and then, you know, you found out he was approaching your clients and trying to undercut you. Now that, before you respond to that, that's a different scenario, right? You legitimately could beat the fuck out of him for that.
yeah, especially if he's been following me around. What the fuck are you doing in my street, mate? Fucking checking out.
So I think, you know, anyone who's ever caught up in any of this stuff, I think, you know, maybe the message is don't be the instigator.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, like maybe if you've got someone doing this stuff to you, like maybe just fucking rush them, mate.
just buy a ram truck and fucking run them over.
Yep. Okay, so what about some of the other, you know, positive things that you can do? One thing that we've always done, because we have never been the best at, you know, like every task, but what we've always tried to do is accentuate the positives and hide some of the negatives. So one big thing that I used to do when we would go into these villages, I would always say we and my team and I, and, you know, all of this stuff. But in the early days, I only had one worker, and I'd make out I had this team of workers. And it was a way to hide the negative that we're not a huge, big business. We're really just looking for our first break. Now, once you get that first break, you can then employ people. Once you've got 3 or 4, all of a sudden you have a team. But until you get it, you don't need to highlight the fact that you're only with one other person. You can, spin that thread a little bit and be like, yeah, my team can come in here. We can do this. This is what we already do. Those types of things.
Make it till you make it, baby.
Yeah. And, if you're passionate and confident, those things will get you by, because you'll get by on determination. And, if you're full of shit, you'll fail. And so, I think, let's say in ride-on mowing or something, let's say you really want to get into acreages, but, you can't spend the 7 or 8 grand or 10 grand to be equipped before you start targeting it. It wouldn't be the smartest idea to get your first quote and be like, well, I'm going to buy my ride on if you say yes. You know what I mean? You got to be like, and obviously you have to have a plan first. But, be like, we've got the machine, we can come in, what's the price, rah, rah, rah. And then it's obviously, once you have sold yourself, and if the job gets accepted, then it's really on you to perform and go and get that machine. But you certainly don't rock up to an acreage property and say that, you're saving for a machine, or you're waiting to get the go ahead so you can go and buy a machine, because that doesn't show any, that customer is not going to feel comfortable in that situation, being like, yeah, sure, I'll give you your first break.
Okay. So I'm going to burst that bubble. I kind of did that when I first started. So my first big acreage customer was about 6 acres, and I'd purchased a machine, and I was waiting for delivery, and delivery kept getting pushed. So I told them I can start on this date, and I was just lucky that the machine came the day before. And fuck me, that was my first ride-on. No, I switched it, but I didn't have the machine. So I told a little porky pie, and I just got by. But it was a close call.
I mean, look, we all know that our advice first and foremost is that there is nothing better than being equipped. But I'm realistic. If someone says to me, hey Ben, how can I get into the acreage market? And I say to them, go and spend $10,000 on a ride-on, that's not always possible for these people who for whatever the case may be, if they make that $10,000 purchase, it needs to be justified. Let's say you're making $80 repayments on it per week. If you land a $500 acreage that you're servicing every fortnight, all of a sudden you're able to justify that $10,000 purchase. Whereas, if you don't have that, it's not easy to justify. So, there is nothing better than being equipped, but at the same time, you can still hide the fact that you're not, rather than, just being like, oh, man, I don't have a mower, but I'll still give you a quote and I expect you to hire me.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you can justify hiring something. But then hiring costs are so big. I know our pal Glenn, he used to hire a big Toro, and he used to make money on that. But
that was large. That was large scale work, and I know that. And I know that that was because he used to talk to us about it.
Yeah.
And I think that a $30,000 machine, or maybe less, was it?
No, I'd say around 30, probably 30 now.
Yeah. So for him to be able to justify the $30,000 outlay, you'd want to make sure you've got regular work for that stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
He was smart enough to look at that style work, organize a machine, even though he didn't own the machine. He was literally equipped because he knew he could hire the machine. The dollar figures would work out. He knew he could transport the machine. Done and dusted.
Yeah, it's good. He worked it well.
Like whenever you've quoted residential jobs or commercial jobs, is it like, this is in my standard protocol, but like I always ask who, were they having was this job done by a professional contractor beforehand? And if they say yes, I always asked, okay, who was that person? Because, in a local area, sometimes, let's say there's 10 contractors, you probably know 9 of them.
Yeah.
And then why are they not doing it anymore? Now, is that something that you do as well?
Yeah, I don't think I go into that much detail. I always like to know, was there a professional contractor doing it? And why are they not doing it anymore? Those are the two main ones for me. I don't really care who they are. But yeah, those are the two main ones for me.
I'm just fucking nosy. I always asked who it was.
you want the goss. You want all the goss.
But I mean, it never deterred me. Like if I, let's take Tyson, for example, from EPMS. Now, he's a mate of mine. We've done business in the past. I've been called up to body corp jobs where years and years ago, when I didn't have much work, I used to do that job like for Tyson.
Oh, okay.
And 5 years later, I got my own business, and they're about to fire him and employ me. Now, there would be some people out there who are like, oh, it's like the girlfriend rule. Like if you've been involved with her, then no one else can. But I never looked at it that way. It's like, man, you kind of had your opportunity. I didn't do nothing. I've just got a business.
Yeah.
They called me because you fucked up.
That's exactly right.
That's the way I've always looked at it. And I never personally had an issue with, like, if someone approached me and they're like, oh, you're doing this now. I'd be like, yeah. I sort of never really had a problem because like I didn't approach that client.
Yeah.
I just have a business like him. Like they're either going to call me or they're going to call the next dude. And don't let the fact that I know you be a burden for me.
I actually, when I had a street, it had nine jobs in it, and I actually met a guy that did a couple of them, and he was still doing one across the road. And we used to have a chat, and he's like, "Oh, how you finding this dickhead?" So we obviously had a run in with this guy, and I think sometimes just it must have been a personality clash there. But it was kind of funny because I was getting the inside scoop from another contractor of shit this customer had done to him. And then I kind of, as I progressed in my business, I kind of felt, oh, fuck, he is a bit of a dickhead. He is doing the same thing to me. So that was kind of good. That was back to networking again.
Yeah. And sometimes it depends on your route densities and, are you working in the same suburbs that you're living in, and, things like that. There is going to be natural crossover. You know what I mean? Like eventually you're going to do a job that another contractor did before. You're not going to be winning new business repeatedly in the residential game.
Yeah. Well, one of my sites, I think there's 4 other contractors that come in and do backyards because I've only just been allowed to take on maintenance inside the property boundaries in the last maybe like 3 months since Christmas, just before Christmas. So there's other contractors all the time, and there's Fox, there's a couple of independents, and some of them don't talk to me at all. Some of them I have a great relationship with, and they share information with me. The guys from Two Green Thumbs, like you would have seen them rolling around. They're really cool. A husband and wife team. They run a crew.
Yeah, no, man, that's pretty cool. And like, I totally understand because we actually have the same thing at our villages. It's a big no-no for us to do any cash work. So we don't like independent contractors come in and do all of that private stuff. So
Nice.
we're the same. We chat to the other people, and just like I said, $30 guy coming in with his hand shearers, like, man, we got no threat to us.
Yeah.
Look, a lot of those people that are doing $20 courtyards, they probably can't handle $150,000 contract a year. And I'm not saying that to, belittle anyone, but sometimes that's what they're specializing in. They might do 20 of those courtyards a day and be absolutely loving life. Yeah, you can make bank doing that. I mean, we used to do it for it was that place, Nut Tree Hill.
I remember that
one. But yeah, we used to go in and mow like something ridiculous, like 80 courtyards. Or maybe it was even more for $20 each. Yeah. So, like, we ain't tripping on that.
That was back when I went back in the
half of them you could just whippersnip anyway.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool, man.
So while we're here, I just want to take a second to talk about our sponsors, Bad Workwear.
Oh, check it out.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, man. I love this hat.
That's not bad. That's not bad. That's good.
Yeah, is it good to be bad? I don't know. What's going on?
Why don't you tell everyone what they can do at the checkout?
Yeah, man. Chuck, if you go to the checkout, do your order, smash in Skull, all in capitals, and get 10% off at the checkout. A little chunk of that will come to us, and that'll just help us upgrade our equipment. And yeah, hopefully we can get the sound quality on point. Get a little bit more production value in the podcast.
Every penny counts. Now, also, don't forget, if you get some fly gear from Bad Workwear, don't forget to post it up on social media. Tag Bad Workwear, tag Skull Sessions, TBL, and Catch Pro, or any of, tag one of the above, and flaunt that stuff.
Yeah, show us. I definitely show it off.
Show us where you piss from.
That's disgusting.
I don't know if you'll keep that in. You can probably edit that.
No way.
All right, everyone. Well, should we go head back down to our bomb shelters and hide from this storm cell that's coming, mate? We'll leave everyone to it.
Well, I'm already in mine, so I'm just going to stay put.
All right. Well, sign us out.
Sweet. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We really appreciate it. And don't forget, like, share, review, do all that stuff. Hit us up on our socials if you've got any questions. If there's any topics that we haven't touched on yet and you want us to have a crack at, swing it to us. We're always happy to take on the feedback. And see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Relax and take notes while I take totes of the marijuana smoke. Throw you in a choke, gun smoke, gun smoke.